Hey guys, thanks for stopping by for another video. My name is Joe Sidoti, and I want to talk about spectral balance in your mix. What do I mean by that? I mean balancing the spectrum of frequencies, say from 20 hertz to 20,000 hertz, and thinking through arrangements, instrument types, parts, things that you're deciding to put into your song, and how do they play in the whole spectrum of things? And are you thinking through the textures? Are you thinking through the balance of this spectral range? That's what this video is about. Let's talk about it. I'm a fan of music, but I'm also an engineer, so when I'm listening to music, I really take extra notice when I think the mix is great, or that someone, whether it's the band or the producer or the engineer, have really thought through the balance of the whole spectrum. Let's say there's a part of your song and the drummer is riding the floor tom, right? Well, nothing at that point is really taking up the space of the top end, let's say from 6K to 20K. So that's a perfect opportunity to think about, what do you want to take up that space? If the whole song, for instance, never played on the hi-hats and you never hit any crashes or ride cymbals, then what's taking up that space? Now you could argue that the vocals are taking up, some of that sibilant space up in the top, but it's so sporadic. It's not constant, it's not rhythmic, and it's certainly not adding a texture. So what's an example of a texture like that? So in this scenario where the drummer's playing on the floor tom, maybe you would add a shaker, okay, or a tambourine, something like that. Maybe the acoustic guitar that you add can really accentuate the top end, and you can add a bunch of 10, 12, 16K, so you get that pick hitting the strings sound, and that can take up the texture of the top end. Same thing would go with the bottom end. Let's reverse this. So let's say I'm playing on the hi-hats and I'm not playing the kick drum, or I'm not hitting the floor tom. Well, then the bass should probably be playing, because it needs to fill in the bottom end. And if the bass isn't playing, then there probably should be a loop or something that I need to add that kick drum in on quarter notes maybe to fill out the bottom end, because I always want to be thinking about balance. So this spectral balance of spectral mixing, if you will, it's not just about front to back, what's in front, what's on top, what's turned down a little bit or pushed back, with reverb, or brought forward with compression. I want you to try and think, next time you're working on a song or working on a mix, think about that left to right balance. And I don't mean left to right as you pan things. I mean, to your left is 20 hertz and to your right is 20,000 hertz. And what's taking up the space? Another example, let's say, and I use drums because it's so easy to have that sibilant top end, whether it be cymbals or percussion. That's really the stuff that takes up that space. But now we're thinking about 20 to 20K, but are you thinking about left versus right? And that's important as well. And I'll give you an example. If I'm playing on the hi-hat and I'm over here and I definitely want to add a tambourine, then I'm going to add it on the opposite side of my hi-hat, panning wise. If I'm playing the ride and I want to add a shaker, I'll probably add it to the opposite side of the ride, because I want to not only make sure I'm having those textures, but now I really want to think about balancing them left and right, so that if something's coming, then something's going, right? We're constantly kind of balancing things, kind of like a teeter-totter. You're on one leg and you're really trying to balance this whole thing. So that's another example. I watched a really cool video that someone showed about, spectrum analyzers. You can get pretty geeked out on a spectrum analyzer, and there's arguments on both sides that you really shouldn't care what it looks like, just use your ears. And that's true. But in this case, in this video, he brought up a really important point. And that is, sometimes you can't trust your ears. Maybe it's because you're in an acoustically horrible sounding space. Maybe your speakers don't reproduce it. So in order to make sure that you're in the safe zone, that your song is in the ballpark, that's where a spectrum analyzer comes into play. It's very helpful. Now, I've shown you EQs in previous videos that have spectrum analyzers, and I use them a lot. I have spectrum analyzers built in my Softube Console 1. On everything I EQ, I'm seeing what's happening. Does that mean that I only make EQ decisions based off of what I'm seeing or mix decisions? No. It means that I am using that data to help me make a decision. Maybe it's a creative decision. Maybe it's just using that data to say, I think that I want to fill out this part of the song, and I know that now that this gives me an idea of what maybe it's lacking. I just say this because, you know, a lot of times you're sitting there and you're thinking about, let me just add another track. I'm gonna add another track. Maybe you're a guitar player and you're like, I'm just gonna add 2 more, and then I'm gonna add some octaves, and then I'm gonna add some power chords, and then I'm gonna add this single note thing. That's great, but are you thinking about making sure that every portion of the spectrum is represented? I'm not saying, please hear me out, I'm not saying that your song should be this linear, flat tone. I'm saying to think through the spectrum from 20 to 20 and make sure that you're filling it so that you've got a balanced mix. Think of it almost like a balanced diet. You know, if all you ate was candy and sugar all day and you never ate any vegetables, well, it wouldn't be balanced and it would be unhealthy. Same thing goes if you've got everything is dark and there's no top end, or if everything is super bright and there's no bottom end. You really need to be thinking about that left to right 20 to 20K spectrum. That's all I'm getting at. Does that make sense? Speaking of making sense, you know what would make sense is if you were working on a song and you needed me to mix it. I'm looking to collaborate with people. I hope that you know that I'm available for mixing, consultations, all sorts of things like that. But really, I love making music, and I want to make music with like-minded people. So if you like this channel, if you like me, you like the type of content that I'm putting out, then you might just like working with me as well. So again, subscribe to the channel, like the videos, comment in the comment section, share it with all your friends. Really helps the channel. This whole YouTube algorithm thing is rough. I really feel like this is great content, but I gotta get it in front of more people. And that's really the goal, is to help as many people as I can. So I hope that you're thinking through this spectrum and making some decisions based off of that on your next song or your next mix. I want you to be really thinking, okay, if this is happening here, then what should be happening there? All right, I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope it helped. Leave a comment, let me know. I'd love to hear. All right, guys, I'll see you on the next video. If you like this video, then click that like button, I appreciate it. And subscribe to the channel and help support Sidoti Sound. And click that bell if you want to be notified when I release new videos. And of course, you can find me on all sorts of social media, so be sure to check that out. If you'd like to work with me on an upcoming project, then make sure to visit SidotiSound.com for more information. All right, guys, thanks a lot.